Our world is constantly shifting and transforming. Companies everywhere are working to lead the way to the next big thing. And consumers expect rapid, exciting product launches and packages that are delivered to their doorsteps like magic. With all of this incredible change, the value of speed has become immeasurable. It's truly one of the most important factors of business success today. After all, the ability to identify an issue or opportunity is great, but real value is achieved when you identify that issue before it becomes a huge problem, or act upon that opportunity ahead of the competition. These days, there's more data about marketplaces, organizations, customers, competitors, and employees than ever before. But we need more than data alone to make better decisions and deliver rapid results. And that's where intelligence comes in. Business intelligence. Business intelligence, or BI, involves automating processes and information channels in order to transform relevant data into actionable insights that are easily available to decision makers. In other words, by showing decision makers what is currently happening, organizations become more intelligent and successful. A national restaurant group might analyze millions of customer receipts to optimize its food supply and reduce waste. Or a local hospital could integrate numerous different data sources to review feedback and outcomes in order to help personalize the patient experience. Or perhaps a global manufacturing company uses supply chain data from around the world to make more precise demand forecasts and ensure appropriate inventory levels. The BI applications are endless, and so are the BI career opportunities. The field involves such diverse organizations and industries that wherever your interest may be, there's a path for you. In this program alone, you'll learn about everything from appliance manufacturers, to grocery stores, to local artisans, to artificial intelligence companies. BI professionals are making impact everywhere. As for me, my name is Sally, and I'm a business intelligence analyst at Google. I'm thrilled to welcome you to the Google Business Intelligence Career Certificate. I'll be your instructor for the first course of this program. Completing a Google Career Certificate, like this one, will help you develop relevant skills that employers are looking for when hiring business intelligence talent. You'll learn how to use the tools of a fast-growing, high-paying field. And when you graduate, you can connect with hundreds of employers in the US who are interested in hiring Google Career Certificate graduates. The program is designed to prepare you for a job in 3 to 6 months if you work on the certificate part-time. And it's really flexible. There are just 3 courses, which you'll complete on your own terms at your own pace, all online. Whether you're seeking to switch careers, find a new job, level up your skills, or build a business, Google Career Certificates can open doors to new opportunities. You might know me from the Google Data Analytics Certificate, which is a key foundation for this program. What you will learn here relies on that foundation, so you want to be sure to earn that certificate first, or use our upcoming self-assessment to ensure you have comparable knowledge. I'll be by your side throughout this first course, making sure that you're learning what you need to succeed. I love the world of BI and really enjoy working with SQL and digging into the technical side of analytics in support of Google's people operations. This team is dedicated to Google staffing, development, and a distinct and inclusive culture. But I didn't start out in BI. When I first thought about my professional path, I was interested in becoming a physician. But I ended up really enjoying the biological sciences, so I thought I'd be a biomedical researcher. Of course, data analytics is the science of data, so it kind of made sense that this field ended up piquing my interest along the way. I started my career as an analyst, and here I am. That's just one example, and everyone's experience is different. In fact, the Google Career Certificates were designed by industry professionals with decades of experience. And you'll have a different expert from Google to guide you through each course. We'll share our knowledge in videos, help you practice with hands-on activities, and take you through scenarios that you might encounter on the job. First, meet my teammate Ed.
Hello, I'm Ed, and I'm a product manager at Google. Together, we'll explore data modeling and ETL, which stands for extract, transform, and load. It's all about getting data where and how you need it, so you can analyze and monitor it. Next, you meet Terrence.
Hey there, I'm Terrence, and I'm a Senior Business Intelligence Analyst. I'm really looking forward to spending time with you as you discover how to apply your understanding of stakeholder needs when creating BI visualizations. We'll also use dashboards to present clear insights that can advance all kinds of companies.
Hi, I'm Anita, and I'm a Senior Business Intelligence Analyst here at Google. I'll guide you through different career-building topics and activities, including the end-of-course project featuring portfolio creation. A portfolio is a collection of materials that can be shared with potential employers. This exciting hands-on experience will bring together everything you learned during this program and enable you to apply your skills to a realistic business scenario.
We're all really glad you're here, and I, for one, can't wait to get started. Are you ready to take the first step towards joining us in the BI profession? Let's go! There are an endless number of reasons to pursue a career in business intelligence. Enjoying analytical thinking or having an interest in numbers are wonderful motivations for becoming a BI professional. But there's so much more to the world of BI. Maybe you're passionate about solving problems, simplifying processes, or removing pain points for others. Perhaps you have great communication skills and you'd like to use them to share insights and help your team make effective decisions. Lots of people in BI enjoy creating tools that streamline tasks and enable their colleagues to devote more time to other projects. BI professionals are inspired in all kinds of ways. But when I talk to my colleagues here at Google, the thing they love most is simply using their talents to make other people happy. There's a lot of satisfaction in knowing that you've made someone's job easier or saved them a bunch of time. And right now, you've made me happy because you're here to explore the exciting and rewarding career path of BI. In this first course, you will begin learning about the BI industry. If this is new territory for you, you'll discover how to identify the career path and employer type that best suits your skills and interests. You'll also consider the roles of BI analysts versus BI engineers. And if you already have some BI experience, we'll open new doors to more fascinating career opportunities. You'll understand how to develop a BI project that makes an impact. You'll be introduced to BI tools and techniques that professionals use every day for making business decisions and improving processes. The similarities and differences between BI and data analytics will be clarified. And together, we will explore the importance of context when working with data and learn how to overcome some common limitations, such as human bias. Then, throughout the program, you'll continue gaining new skills. You will use data modeling to design data storage systems, such as data warehouses, data marts, and data lakes. You'll apply data pipelines in the ETL process. Designing and interpreting dashboards will be an essential part of your learning, as well as communicating with stakeholders about your findings. Finally, you'll prepare for your job search by developing a personal strategy, growing your professional network, and preparing materials. Most of the content in this program builds upon core data analytics concepts. So if you have some experience in that area, or if you earned your Google Data Analytics certificate, then you've definitely come to the right place. If you're unsure about having the necessary prerequisites for this program, there's an ungraded assessment coming up soon to evaluate your readiness. In addition, we'll include helpful resources from the Google Data Analytics certificate throughout each course, which you can use to review key concepts. So let's start building your BI skills and knowledge. Continue to the next lesson to keep the momentum going. Hi, I'm Sally. I'm a business intelligence analyst at Google. What that means is I work with data to help improve the hiring experience at Google. The way in which I entered data analytics is via a business boot camp that I did years ago. I was thinking of becoming a biomedical researcher, and this is something that I just wanted to use during extra time that I had. We learned about just data analysis in general, and I found that I had like a knack for it. Everything just made sense. It was very tangible. You can see the results pretty immediately, right? And you could search for things. I love puzzles, so trying to find, using different clues and trying to find what is that answer. And I really enjoyed it, as well as enjoyed working with teams, which was different from when I was in the sciences. It was very much independent. I was doing my own thing. But within the business bootcamp, I was working within a group of people, and that was so social and so much fun. And we were supporting each other, and I love that team environment. Through the program is how I got my first job. There was someone I met on the program who graduated a year before me, And when it was time for me to apply for jobs, he had an opening on his team, and he reached out to me to see if I wanted to apply. So that's actually how I got into data analytics. I didn't study data analytics. I had to teach myself everything I had to teach myself SQL. I didn't feel like I was really contributing or that I had any security in this field. And so what I tried to do is I tried to teach myself Python, go into machine learning and whatnot. But ultimately, what I found is I don't need to do that. I just need to find a niche, what I'm good at, and develop that and become an expert in that. So the advice that I would give for someone who's trying to enter the field of business intelligence is to consider the difference between data analytics and business intelligence. I personally found that I really liked SQL, loved SQL on the technical side of things, in addition to that. So I wanted to level up and enter business intelligence. You can make your career within the broader field of data analytics be whatever you want, depending on what it is that you enjoy. We often hear about all the data that's created each and every day. It could be something as simple as taking a photo with your phone, or paying your bills, or something as complex as a global company launching a new product or running a multimedia advertising campaign. It really feels like practically everything creates data. So it's no wonder that organizations need experts to help them access the right data, use it to find ways to grow and improve, and put those insights into action. In fact, as the volume of data is ever escalating, so is the need for professionals who can make that data shine. For instance, in my role, I'm proud to be able to use data to give my stakeholders a quick overview of exactly what they need to know without getting lost in the details. The tools I create enable them to clearly evaluate the candidate hiring and employee experiences within Google's people operations. One way this works is by showing my stakeholders how long the interview journey is when someone is being hired at Google. This is important because it helps them determine if we need to hire more recruiters or interview schedulers in order to improve the process for our candidates. In this video, you'll learn more about how those of us in BI offer value to our colleagues and how we help shape the future of our organizations. There are so many different potential roles to explore. For example, in this program, you'll learn a lot about BI analysts and BI engineers. BI analysts gather requirements from stakeholders, partners, and team members. They use their understanding of large datasets to retrieve, organize, and interpret data. Then they create visualizations, dashboards, and reports to use when presenting and communicating insights to others. The intelligence they share might be used to make decisions, develop a new process, or create a business strategy. Or it could be applied to even deeper analysis. BI engineers are responsible for designing, configuring, implementing, and improving data tools and processes. They evaluate and streamline various devices, infrastructures, and information channels called pipelines. Engineers are excellent troubleshooters and help find solutions to security issues, application permissions and updates, and other technical challenges. In other words, a BI engineer manages tools and processes, which enables a BI analyst to put those tools and processes to work. However, it's also important to note that some companies don't distinguish between those two BI jobs, using the terms analyst and engineer interchangeably. So when you begin to explore job opportunities, be sure to spend some time researching the job and organization in order to fully understand what's involved. No matter which path you ultimately choose, a career in BI has the potential to be amazing. Research shows that all industries today need skilled BI professionals, but there are not enough people with the right experience and talent to satisfy this demand. So BI professionals enjoy strong career prospects. In fact, a quick search for job openings in the industry reveals thousands of opportunities on LinkedIn alone. But perhaps best of all, BI professionals find their work rewarding and fulfilling because we know what we do makes someone else's life better. Coming up and throughout this program, you'll discover some really inspiring examples of just how BI makes such a positive impact. I can't wait to share them with you. What do you do when you're facing a really challenging task or big problem? You've done your research, tried multiple approaches, but nothing seems to be working. It's natural to be frustrated. We've all been there. But a much better strategy is to simply ask for help. As the saying goes, two heads are better than one. And in business, complex problems often require 5, 10, or even hundreds of people coming up with potential solutions. This is why business intelligence professionals collaborate with lots of different team members in their work. Brainstorming and building together, pulling knowledge, and working out issues is essential to the BI process. BI professionals also rely on team members to provide important inputs for their projects and to partner on solutions. This video will share examples of the key players you might work with. Keep in mind, every organization handles job titles differently, so you may encounter some discrepancies or overlap, but this is a great place to start. First up, API professionals. API stands for Application Programming Interface. This is a set of functions and procedures that integrate computer programs, forming a connection that enables them to communicate. There are so many different roles that involve APIs, including API strategist, developer, engineer, and product owner. When you're working in business intelligence, you might collaborate with API professionals in order to create the interface that you need for a particular project, especially if some of your data is coming from a third-party platform. APIs bring that data into the internal company database in order to build reporting tools and dashboards. API professionals code in a number of different computing languages, including Python, Java, and so many others. So it's up to API partners to write code that's specific to each project and business need. You may work with data warehousing specialists who develop processes and procedures to effectively store and organize data. These people also help ensure BI professionals can easily access the data they need. There are also data governance professionals. These team members are responsible for the formal management of an organization's data assets. This may involve managing the availability, integrity, and security of data based on internal standards and policies. This is very important for making sure data is trustworthy and doesn't get misused or corrupted. Of course, data analysts are key partners as they collect, transform, and organize data. They are dataset specialists, reviewing and validating the data all the time. They also identify and implement exciting new analysis methodologies. Another key team is IT. Information technology professionals test, install, repair, upgrade, and maintain the hardware and software solutions that organizations use every single day. BI professionals work with the IT department in order to maximize all of the available data and data tools. In addition, project managers are key collaborators as they handle the day-to-day project steps, scope, schedule, budget, resources, and much more. There are all kinds of contributors, and every organization is different. Who you work with will depend on the size of the company, the available tools, and the nature of the work. For example, if your project deals with the customer experience, then the customer success team will be essential to providing inputs. If your project is about employee engagement, then you'll work closely with the HR team. And because my work involves hiring processes, I really benefit from collaborating with the recruiting team members here at Google. Now, there is another essential group of people on the team, and that's your stakeholders. In an upcoming section in this course, we'll talk lots more about the various stakeholder roles as they relate to BI. We'll also explore different stakeholder goals and how you can use your BI skills to reach them. Stay tuned. With business intelligence and data analytics gaining so much popularity these days, the term business intelligence and data analytics are often defined incorrectly, oversimplified, or used interchangeably for speedy communication. That can lead to confusion because BI and DA are quite different. In this video, we're going to sort that out. First, let's establish that both BI and DA professionals enable data-driven decision-making in their organizations. They're also both a key part of their company's data maturity. Data maturity is the extent to which an organization is able to effectively use its data in order to extract actionable insights. Whether that data includes information about your customers, staff, products, suppliers, finances, or something else, It's worthless if it can't be put to work. Putting data to work requires skilled professionals who can apply techniques and technologies to achieve high levels of maturity. In this effort, data analysts are primarily involved with using data to answer questions about what happened. On the other hand, BI professionals aim to achieve higher levels of data maturity by building data reporting tools, such as dashboards. Dashboards continuously analyze and monitor data, so the work isn't complete just because the tool has been created. The analysis and monitoring are ongoing. This is because BI involves establishing repeatable methods to understand how things are operating. And by knowing the current state, company leaders can take action to improve the future state. For example, a BI professional might investigate what new sales prospects are being targeted today? How many customers have we gained this month? Or did our weekly email perform well with new subscribers? Because BI is all about near real-time rapid monitoring, BI insights are most effective when they make an impact right now. Therefore, the people who use the reporting tools want to make sure they are practical and efficient. BI professionals are expert tool builders. Then, it's typically the data analysts who apply these tools in order to answer a question or solve a problem by examining the data through a specific topic or lens. Again, a big part of BI is creating dashboards that provide users with clear snapshots of the current state. These tools must be impactful and easy to interpret, even for non-technical people. So, if you like thinking about what you can create that meets the needs of many different users, BI will let you do just that. BI professionals generally work on large-scale projects that are helpful for multiple stakeholders. Also, as you consider how you will fit in the BI world, note that BI professionals are experts in data infrastructure and enjoy the technical side of data analytics. For instance, if you love working with databases, big data, and the computer programming language SQL, BI will give you the opportunity to take your queries to the next level. If you earn the Google Data Analytics certificate, the content included there formed your foundational knowledge and experience. Now, this BI program will provide a complementary skill set that builds on those foundations. It will also add a lot of very marketable talents to your resume that will create a compelling combination of skills for employers to consider and will open the doors for more job opportunities. In addition to the technical side of things, such as managing large datasets, writing queries in SQL, and creating dashboards, you'll learn some really worthwhile professional skills. These include the ability to juggle many different priorities, attention to detail, owning a process, communicating with others, and learning how to go beyond surface-level requests. Perhaps most importantly, you'll discover the value of connecting with others to really drive results. And that's how you build a career, rather than just have a job. In future lessons, you will continue to explore the similarities and differences between BI and DA. The two disciplines complement and rely on each other, just like the talented people who work in these roles. Together, they help their organizations advance on the data maturity scale every day. If you earned your Google Data Analytics certificate, then you're very familiar with the data lifecycle and the data analysis process. Data analysts use these phases in their work every single day in order to gain insights that lead to informed decision-making. As a quick refresher, the data lifecycle is the sequence of stages that data experiences, which include plan, capture, manage, analyze, archive, and destroy. And the data analysis process occurs in 6 phases: ask, prepare, process, analyze, share, and act. Business intelligence also has phases, a sequence of 3 stages that determines the value of BI, as well as organizational data maturity. As you've learned, data maturity is a meaningful goal for any BI team because high maturity means their organization is effectively using its data in order to extract actionable insights. In BI, the 3 stages are capture, analyze, and monitor. As you advance through each one, the process requires a deeper level of exploration and investigation, so each becomes more complex. These phases might be automated or done manually, but each one adds significant business impact, which is well worth the effort. It's important to understand these stages and how they can benefit you as a BI professional. So we're going to explore each one of them in this video. Let's start with capture, which is the what happened point in the BI process. This stage pertains to static, backward-looking data. For instance, if you were to query a database to return a dataset about what your customers purchased last month, that's an example of capturing information. Or you might access a spreadsheet that lists profits and losses from the previous quarter. That's also an example of capturing a record of certain information. Records are essential to BI, but they don't enable users to easily investigate in depth and really dig into the data. And that hinders the insights they're able to provide. Also, because the data in this stage is rigid and backward-looking, it's not always very useful for proactive, forward-looking decisions. Capturing information is a necessary element of BI. But information alone doesn't let us know what's working well, how we can improve, or what to do next. However, in the following step, things get better. Which brings me to stage 2, analyze. The why did it happen part of BI. You already know a lot about this stage, but as a quick reminder, data analysis is when we draw conclusions, make predictions, and drive informed decision making. Because the analyze stage explores why things happen, it's much more likely to result in effective plans and strategies. In this way, it enables BI professionals to better understand key relationships between data points. They do this by examining data more deeply, more broadly, or even side by side, in order to identify connections that, at first, might not have been apparent. Okay, now we've come to the final part of the process, monitor. Monitor is the what's happening now stage. And here's where BI professionals really get to show off their unique skills and expertise. In this stage, you'll use automated processes and information channels, such as data models, ETL pipelines, dashboards, and more. These exciting tools take the data that organizations create every single day and transform it into true intelligence that is easily available to stakeholders. These BI tools reveal upswings, downturns, changes, challenges, opportunities, and much more. Decision makers then use the insights these tools deliver in order to proactively work towards business goals. You'll learn all about these BI tools in upcoming courses. And soon in this course, I'll provide some foundational information about the BI Professionals Toolbox. You can use it to start familiarizing yourself with what happens during the monitor stage. For now, great job on all the progress you've made so far. I'm so happy to be sharing the world of BI with you. Let's keep it up and head to the next lesson. Strategy is a big part of life in so many ways. Take the planet's most popular sport, football, or soccer. The rules and gameplay are relatively simple, but the strategy is extremely complex. Depending on who's on the field and their particular skills, the coaches must choose between many different formations and tactics. And no matter how talented a player may be, they'll only perform their best if they have a solid understanding of football strategy, such as being able to identify the precise moment to shoot or when to pass instead. The game of chess is also all about strategy. Each piece has a distinctive way of moving, such as a rook shifting horizontally or vertically across the board, a knight jumping over other pieces, or the powerful queen going pretty much anywhere she wants. Mathematicians have actually proven that there are more potential chess game variations than atoms in the universe. And with so many possible outcomes, having a clear strategy is absolutely essential to creating a winning game plan. Well, creating a winning strategy is also a big part of BI. You may recall learning about data strategy, which is the management of the people, processes, and tools used in data analysis. Similarly, business intelligence strategy is the management of the people, processes, and tools used in the business intelligence process. As you're discovering, BI is complex, and it requires a 360-degree view of the organization. Thoughtful preparation through effective strategy is a must. In this video, we'll explore how that works. Let's start with people. The most important thing here is to make sure people are working together in a positive way. Sometimes several departments in a company are using BI, but the processes are siloed, meaning they lack communication and collaboration. Maybe the sales team doesn't have access to important marketing data, Or human resources is tracking valuable employee data, but only for their own internal purposes. So, the first thing to do is simply communicate with all of the team members and stakeholders who are involved. Include people from all levels of the organization so you get many diverse perspectives. Begin by asking them some key questions, such as: are our BI teams and professionals coordinated? Is there any overlap among their functions? Who should be responsible for establishing the rules and policies that govern BI processes? Note that BI governance involves defining and implementing BI systems and frameworks within an organization. This is different from the concept of data governance, which you may know is a process for ensuring the formal management of a company's data assets. Now, most importantly in the people step, be sure to ask about the vision for the BI process. And how does that vision align with current business strategy? A vision specifies your desired outcome, such as winning the football game or chess match. The second element of BI strategy is process. By now, you've established who will be responsible for the rules and policies that govern BI processes. So, some questions to ask these people include: what solutions are we using and how? Which of them bring value? What types of solutions do we plan to implement? How will we deliver them? How will we support them? In addition, having a user support framework is a critical part of the process. So be sure to dedicate enough time in training and education, a feedback system, and ensuring users are getting value from the tools. Which brings us to the tools part of BI strategy. One of the most important concepts to note here is to choose each tool with the user in mind. Consider which dashboards, reports, and other solutions will be most effective. Ask: do different users, teams, and departments require different technologies? Which technologies do we have access to? Can we gain access to others if needed? How will we measure success? Here, you'll want to establish key performance indicators, or KPIs, for each particular business need. Soon, you'll learn a lot more about KPIs and explore how organizations use them to achieve objectives every day. But for now, just understand that a KPI is a quantifiable value, closely linked to business strategy, which is used to track progress towards a goal. In other words, KPIs direct you towards achieving your desired results. But in order for KPIs to do their job, it's important that the tools you select align with the KPIs established for each particular project. The last step in this process is documenting everything you've learned. Many BI professionals use specific BI documents to note stakeholder requirements, project requirements, and strategy. These are essential tools that can really help you capture the big picture, stay organized, and make an impact at your organization. You'll learn exactly how to create these documents in an upcoming reading. As a final point, keep in mind that your particular level of involvement in BI strategy will vary depending on the size and structure of your business and team. But having a broad understanding of all the elements involved is a valuable asset for any BI professional. Business intelligence may seem like a new concept, but it's actually been around for centuries. All throughout history, business leaders from around the world have used BI to set the bar for best practices. In fact, the term business intelligence dates back to 1865, when it appeared in the Encyclopedia of Commercial and Business Anecdotes. The book used the term to recount how a banker, Sir Henry Furness, had great business success by collecting data and quickly acting on information before his competitors could. It described Furness as having created a complete and perfect train of business intelligence. Well, all aboard, because in this video, we're going to get your BI train moving. And just like any train trip, this one starts with mapping out where you are and where you want to go. In BI, mapping a route requires a data model, which is the first tool in your toolbox. Data models organize data elements and how they relate to one another. They help keep data consistent across systems and explain to users how the data is organized. This gives BI professionals clear directions when navigating a database. All right, the second stop on our train ride, and the second tool in your toolbox, is the data pipeline. A data pipeline is a series of processes that transports data from different sources to their final destination for storage and analysis. Think of the data pipeline as train tracks, spanning, passing, and crossing over vast distances. Data is transported along these channels in a smooth, automated flow from original sources to target destination. But that's not all. Along the way, it's up to BI professionals to transform that data so that by the time it pulls into the station or database, it's ready to be put into use. One example of this is ETL, or extract, transform, and load. As a refresher, ETL is a type of data pipeline that enables data to be gathered from source systems, converted into a useful format, and brought into a data warehouse or other unified destination system. The process of ETL plays a key role in data integration because it enables BI professionals to take data from multiple sources, consolidate it, and get all that data working together. Okay, now we've come to our third tool, data visualizations. You likely know that data visualization is the graphical representation of data. Some popular data viz applications are Tableau and Looker. These apps make it possible to create visuals that are easy to understand and tell a compelling story. This way, people who don't have a lot of experience with data can easily access and interpret the information they need. Think of data visualizations as the photos you share with friends and family after your train trip. The best ones are clear, memorable, and highlight the specific places you went, the important sites you visited, and the interesting experiences you had. BI professionals use data visualizations within dashboards, our final stop on the ride. As you may know, a dashboard is an interactive visualization tool that monitors live incoming data. Picture the dashboards used by train drivers. They pay close attention to these tools in order to constantly observe the status of the train engine and other important equipment. Dashboards keep the drivers connected with the control center to ensure that routes are clear and signals are functioning properly. And the drivers can quickly scan the dashboard to identify any hazards or delays that might affect train speed or schedule. No matter which BI tool you're using, a very important concept in our field is iteration. Just as the railroad workers are constantly evaluating and upgrading trains, tracks, and other systems, BI professionals always want to find new solutions and innovative ways to advance our processes. We do this through iteration. Iteration involves repeating a procedure over and over again in order to keep getting closer to the desired result. It's like a railway engineer repeatedly testing out signaling systems in order to refine and improve them to ensure the safest possible environment for railway travelers. In upcoming courses, you'll learn a lot more about iteration, and you'll go much more in depth with all of these exciting tools. You'll also explore all the ways you can transfer your skills and experience with one tool and apply them to another. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. We've got many more thrilling destinations coming up. You have almost reached the end of this first section of the Google Business Intelligence Certificate. So far, you've been introduced to the exciting world of BI, learned about lots of potential careers, and discovered the valuable contributions that BI professionals make every day. You have also gained some key foundational knowledge about BI strategy, as well as data maturity and how BI processes and tools enable organizations to advance to higher maturity levels. We've covered a lot, and I'm sure you have so much to think about already. But that's a great thing. It means you've gathered data, are considering all you've learned, and are beginning to monitor your own progress. That's what intelligence is all about. As this course continues, you'll keep building on the strong base you've created. Soon, you'll also discover how to tap into our diverse community of learners, just like you, in order to get the support you need along the way. As I noted earlier, collaborating with others is a really great way to tackle challenges, brainstorm solutions, and pull resources. Just like the team members who partner with BI professionals, the community you can access through discussion forums is an invaluable resource for you as you progress on your BI journey. In the discussion forums, learners explore BI tools and techniques, help each other troubleshoot, offer support, and so much more. They share their career goals and in which field they hope to apply their BI skills. It's a great place to just meet and network with other people who are also interested in BI. I hope you'll take some time to engage with other learners. It will make your experience more fulfilling and fun. Congrats again on all the progress you've made thus far. Awesome job!
My name is Gagan. I am the director of data and analytics team in finance. My teams focus on data, BI, reporting, and visualization solutions for our partners. Our job is to make data more useful so people can make good business decisions using that data. So when I started my career, I started in software development, and there were no data teams at the time. There were no dedicated data science functions at the time. If you asked my prior version from 20 years ago and imagine that where I would be, I would have never imagined I'd be here at Google. I would have never imagined I'd be doing this as a full-time job. There were multiple individuals who were really good at a lot of different aspects of what makes a really good BI person. If I'm working on a problem, I talk to people. I figured out over the course of time, working with different individuals. For example, I talked to one of my managers. She was really good at coding. Her SQL code and how she wrote it and how well organized it was, I learned so much from her. I also worked with another individual in my career who was really good at organizing and understanding how to design metrics. I met with another person who was really good at telling story through data. So I had this opportunity of informal networking and working with these individuals who I really admired for what they brought to the table and learning from them. Over a course of time, there are a lot of networking opportunities that have arisen. There are lots of LinkedIn groups. There are a lot of professional networks, perhaps where you're working, perhaps outside. There are local chapters of BI, data science analytics, that you could be a part of. So I have, over a course of time, the resources have changed, and the resources that I've utilized have also changed. But I would say the early formative years of my BI experience, data analytics experience, those individuals that I was able to understand and the specific skills that they brought to the table was very useful. Networking is not about reaching to somebody who's more experienced or more senior than you. It's building and understanding how to reach out to the right people, how to make those connections. If you actually take the word networking out and say, what am I trying to do? It's actually building good professional relationships. And like any relationship, it's a two-way street. What can you offer in that partnership? You might think you don't have anything to contribute and you are only trying to learn from the other individual. They definitely might have more technical expertise or the experience behind them, but they do not have the life experiences, the domain expertise from where you are coming from. And they might value understanding where you're coming from and how you are trying to grow as well.
Now that you understand all the phases of the data lifecycle, it's time to move on to the phases of data analysis. They sound similar, but are two different things. Data analysis isn't a life cycle. It's the process of analyzing data. Coming up, we'll look at each step of the data analysis process and how it will relate to your work as a data analyst. Even this program is designed to follow these steps. Understanding these connections will help guide your own analysis and your work in this program. You've already learned that this program is modeled after the stages of the data analysis process. This program is split into courses, 6 of which are based upon the steps of data analysis: ask, prepare, process, analyze, share, and act. Okay, let's start with the first step in data analysis, the ask phase. In this phase, we do 2 things. We define the problem to be solved, and we make sure that we fully understand stakeholder expectations. Stakeholders hold a stake in the project. They are people who have invested time and resources into a project and are interested in the outcome. Let's break that down. First, defining a problem means you look at the current state and identify how it's different from the ideal state. Usually, there's an obstacle we need to get rid of or something wrong that needs to be fixed. For instance, a sports arena might want to reduce the time fans spend waiting in the ticket line. The obstacle is figuring out how to get the customers to their seats more quickly. Another important part of the ask phase is understanding stakeholder expectations. The first step here is to determine who the stakeholders are. That may include your manager, an executive sponsor, or your sales partners. There can be lots of stakeholders, but what they all have in common is that they help make decisions influence actions and strategies, and have specific goals they want to meet. They also care about the project, and that's why it's so important to understand their expectations. For instance, if your manager assigns you a data analysis project related to business risk, it would be smart to confirm whether they want to include all types of risks that could affect the company, or just risks related to weather, such as hurricanes and tornadoes. Communicating with your stakeholders is key in making sure you stay engaged and on track throughout the project. So as a data analyst, developing strong communication strategies is very important. This part of the ask phase helps you keep focused on the problem itself, not just its symptoms. As you learned earlier, the 5 whys are extremely helpful here. In an upcoming course, you'll learn how to ask effective questions and define the problem by working with stakeholders. You'll also cover strategies that can help you share what you discover in a way that keeps people interested. After that, we'll move on to the prepare step of the data analysis process. This is where data analysts collect and store data they'll use for the upcoming analysis process. You'll learn more about the different types of data and how to identify which kinds of data are most useful for solving a particular problem. You'll also discover why it's so important that your data and results are objective and unbiased. In other words, any decisions made from your analysis should always be based on facts and be fair and impartial. Next is the process step. Here, data analysts find and eliminate any errors and inaccuracies that can get in the way of results. This usually means cleaning data, transforming it into more useful format, combining 2 or more data sets to make information more complete, and removing outliers, which are any data points that could skew the information. After that, you'll learn how to check the data you prepared to make sure it's complete and correct. This phase is all about getting the details right, so you'll also fix typos, inconsistencies, or missing and inaccurate data. And to top it off, you'll gain strategies for verifying and sharing your data cleansing with stakeholders. Then it's time to analyze. Analyzing the data you've collected involves using tools to transform and organize that information so that you can draw useful conclusions, make predictions, and drive informed decision-making. There are lots of powerful tools data analysts use in their work, and in this course you'll learn about 2 of them, spreadsheets and structured query language, or SQL, which is often pronounced SQL. The next course is based on the share phase. Here, you'll learn how data analysts interpret results and share them with others to help stakeholders make effective, data-driven decisions. In the share phase, visualization is a data analyst's best friend. So this course will highlight why visualization is essential to getting others to understand what your data is telling you. With the right visuals, facts and figures become so much easier to see, and complex concepts become easier to understand. We'll explore different kinds of visuals and some great data visualization tools. You'll also practice your own presentation skills by creating compelling slideshows and learning how to be fully prepared to answer questions. Then we'll take a break from the data analysis process to show you all of the really cool things you can do with the programming language R. You don't need to be familiar with R or programming languages in general. Just know that R is a popular tool for data manipulation, calculation, and visualization. And for our final data analysis phase, we have ACT. This is the exciting moment when the business takes all of the insights you, the data analyst, have provided and puts them to work in order to solve the original business problem. And will be acting on what you've learned throughout this program. This is when you'll prepare for your job search and have the chance to complete a case study project. It's a great opportunity for you to bring together everything you've worked on throughout this course. Plus, adding a case study to your portfolio helps you stand out from the other candidates when you interview for your first data analyst job. Now you know the different steps of the data analysis process and how our course reflects it. You have everything you need to understand how this course works. And my fellow Googlers and I will be here to guide you every step of the way. Earlier, I told you that you already have analytical skills. You just might not know it yet. When learning new things, sometimes people overlook their own skills, but it's important you take the time to acknowledge them, especially since these skills are going to help you as a data analyst. In fact, you're probably more prepared than you think. Don't believe me? Well, Let me prove it. Let's start by defining what I'm talking about here. Analytical skills are qualities and characteristics associated with solving problems using facts. There are a lot of aspects to analytical skills, but we'll focus on 5 essential points. They are curiosity, understanding context, having technical mindset, data design, and data strategy. Now, you may be thinking, I don't have these kinds of skills, or I only have a couple of them. But stay with me, and I bet you'll change your mind. Let's start with curiosity. Curiosity is all about wanting to learn something. Curious people usually seek out new challenges and experiences. This leads to knowledge. The very fact that you're here with me right now demonstrates that you have curiosity. All right, that was an easy one. Now, think about understanding context. Context is the condition in which something exists or happens. This can be a structure or an environment. A simple way of understanding context is by counting to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of those numbers exist in the context of 1 through 5. But what if a friend of yours said to you 1, 2, 4, 5, 3? Well, the 3 would be out of context. Simple, right? But it can be a little tricky. There's a good chance that you might not even notice the 3 being out of context if you aren't paying close attention. That's why listening and trying to understand the full picture is critical. In your own life, you put things into context all the time. For example, let's think about your grocery list. If you group together items like flour, sugar, and yeast, that's you adding context to your groceries. This saves you time when you're at the baking aisle at the grocery store. Let's look at another example. Have you ever shuffled a deck of cards and noticed a joker? If you're playing a game that doesn't include jokers, identifying that card means you understand it's out of context. Remove it, and you're much more likely to play a successful game. All right, so now we know you have both curiosity and the ability to understand context. Let's move on to the third skill, a technical mindset. A technical mindset involves the ability to break things down into smaller steps or pieces and work with them in an orderly and logical way. For instance, when paying your bills, you probably already break down the process into smaller steps. Maybe you start by sorting them by the date they're due. Next, you might add them up and compare that amount to the balance in your bank account. This would help you see if you can pay your bills now or if you should wait until the next paycheck. Finally, you'd pay them. When you take something that seems like a single task, like paying your bills, and break it into smaller steps with an orderly process, that's using a technical mindset. Now let's explore the fourth part of an analytical skill set, data design. Data design is how you organize information. As a data analyst, design typically has to do with an actual database. But again, the same skills can easily be applied to everyday life. For example, think about the way you organize the contacts in your phone. That's actually a type of data design. Maybe you list them by first name instead of last, or maybe you use email addresses instead of their names. What you're really doing is designing a clear, logical list that lets you call or text the contact in a quick and simple way. The last, but definitely not least, the fifth and final element of analytical skills is data strategy. Data strategy is the management of the people, processes, and tools used in data analysis. Let's break that down. You manage people by making sure they know how to use the right data to find solutions to the problem you're working on. For processes, it's about making sure the path to that solution is clear and accessible. And for tools, you make sure the right technology is being used for the job. Now, you may be doubting my ability to give you an example from real life that demonstrates data strategy. But check this out. Imagine mowing a lawn. Step 1 would be reading the owner's manual for the mower. That's making sure the people involved, well, you, in this example, know how to use the data available. The manual would instruct you to put on protective eyewear and closed-toe shoes. Then it's on to step 2, making the process, the path, clear and accessible. This would involve you walking around the lawn, picking up large sticks or rocks that might get in your way. Finally, for step 3, you check the lawnmower, your tool, to make sure it has enough gas and oil and is in working condition so the lawn can be mown safely. So there you have it. Now you know the 5 essential skills of a data analyst: curiosity, understanding context, having a technical mindset, data design, and data strategy. I told you that you are already an analytical thinker. Now, you can start actively practicing these skills as you move through the rest of this course. Curious about what's next? Move on to the next video.
Welcome to the second section of the Google Business Intelligence Certificate. I'm so glad to have you joining me again. Now that you have a solid foundation in the basics of BI, it's time to focus on the actual BI process. This involves learning how to effectively engage with stakeholders, using BI tools to make the most of available data, and applying the power of rapid monitoring for smart business decisions. And one thing that connects all of these aspects of BI is asking questions. Time and time again, I see that the most successful people in our field are the ones who ask lots of questions. We ask our colleagues what's slowing them down or causing friction in a process. We ask about our customers, competitors, and what's going on in the global marketplace. We ask how things work so we can learn about different tools and technologies. When I was first starting out, I would ask tons of questions about the capabilities and limitations of different systems, even if I didn't use these particular tools in my own day-to-day work. That's because just having a basic understanding enabled me to make connections to the work my team was doing and identify ways that I could make positive contributions. For instance, when I joined Google, I was learning about Google's SQL platforms and the different SQL languages used depending on the tools involved. Sometimes other languages such as Python and JavaScript were involved, which I had never experienced before. To familiarize myself, I made a point to ask questions about how these things worked and who I could go to in order to learn more. I encourage you to do the same thing in your own career and even while you pursue this certificate. Don't hesitate to ask questions in the discussion forums when you encounter a topic that you want to learn more about. There's a lot of information being covered. In this section of the course, we'll first explore how to successfully collaborate with a diverse group of stakeholders. Then you'll discover how near real-time rapid monitoring enables users to collect and report on key metrics, then apply them to make better decisions. In addition, you'll start building some career resources by enhancing your online presence, developing strategies for networking and mentorship, and building a portfolio that will impress future hiring managers. All of that starts by understanding an organization's business needs and important deliverables. After all, if you want to achieve your objectives, you first have to define them. Now, I've got a question for you. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. As you're discovering, BI professionals are passionate about helping people do their jobs more effectively. In my work, I feel a huge sense of accomplishment when I know that I've saved my stakeholders time, helped them find a better process, or showed them a whole new approach. This enables them to focus on other tasks where they can maximize their unique strengths and interests. But before I can do any of that, I first have to get to know them, their roles and responsibilities, and their business goals. After all, different people require different BI insights. But once I have that understanding, I can much more easily determine what a particular project is all about and what my stakeholders are expecting me to deliver. And this is what we're going to explore now in this video. As a quick refresher, a stakeholder is someone who invests time and resources into a project and is interested in its outcome. Typically, this is because they need the work you do to perform their own tasks. But sometimes it's the other way around. You need them. Either way, it's all about teamwork, and that's why it's so critical to ensure that outputs align with the team's requirements. Sometimes a stakeholder might be referred to as a client or user, but their general role is still the same. There are all sorts of stakeholders in the BI process, but we're going to focus on the 4 most common ones. These include the project sponsor, the systems analyst, the developer, and the business stakeholders. Let's start with the project sponsor. This person has overall accountability for a project and establishes the criteria for its success. Accountability involves accounting for or being responsible for project activities. Project sponsors are representatives of the business side, which typically means they're involved when a project is being envisioned, and they advocate for its undertaking. And because the project sponsor is responsible for sharing events, changes, and milestones with other stakeholders in a timely and transparent manner, it's important for BI professionals to always keep the project sponsor informed. Here's an example. In a previous team, I worked on an initiative that involved the customer service department changing its operational platform. The project sponsor was the director of cloud systems. She was responsible for the vision for the project, gathering the relevant teams together, and establishing key objectives. As the BI professional, I made sure to provide her with the information she needed to support this effort, such as what inputs I would need and how long it would take me to create a dashboard. The developer is the next stakeholder on our list. Developers use programming languages to create, execute, test, and troubleshoot software applications. You may hear them called computer programmers, coders, or software engineers. There are two primary types of developers: application software developers and systems software developers. Apps developers design computer or mobile applications. Because their work is largely focused on creating for consumers, these professionals are focused on user needs, monitoring performance and modifying programs as needed. System software developers are more likely to be stakeholders on a BI project because they develop applications and programs for the back-end processing systems used in organizations. Going back to my example of the customer service project, the system software developer worked on the platform's back-end settings to ensure that data flowed into data tables, which analysts used to determine how happy customers were with the customer service department. Next up is the systems analyst. This person identifies ways to design, implement, and advance information systems in order to ensure that they help make it possible to achieve business goals. Systems analysts study how an organization uses its computer, hardware, and software, cloud services, and related technologies. Then they use what they learn to iterate on and improve these tools. For instance, during the customer service project, the systems analysts work with the raw data provided by the systems software developer. Then they organized it into data that I, as a BI professional, could use for reporting purposes. Now we've come to business stakeholders. If you're familiar with the Google Data Analytics Certificate, then you've learned a lot about these people. Business stakeholders invest time and resources into a project and are interested in its outcome. Feel free to revisit that content if you'd like to review business stakeholders before moving on. All of the people you learn about in this video are different, so they'll all require different things from the BI process. The key is to always communicate proactively and prioritize teamwork. My project was a success because we were all in it together. Recently, we've been exploring key elements of the business intelligence process. We spent some time getting to know typical BI stakeholders, including the project sponsor, systems analyst, developer, and general business stakeholders. Now, we're going to take that a step further and consider some important communication strategies that BI professionals use when collaborating with these people. These strategies involve knowing how to ask the right questions, define project deliverables, and effectively share the business intelligence you discover. No BI project is 100% clear from the very beginning, so you'll often need to put on your detective's hat. A critical part of being a BI professional is knowing how to investigate what's currently going on, then looking for clues to better understand people's needs and ideal project outcomes. My colleagues and I often note that a stakeholder, partner, or coworker might say they need one thing, but what they actually need is very different. And it's up to us to get to the bottom of it and help them succeed. In such circumstances, having strong communication skills will enable you to dig deeper into the problem, challenge, or opportunity, then identify how you can approach the issue in the most effective way. This process starts with asking the right questions. If you earned the Google Data Analytics Certificate, you spent an entire course focusing on this ask phase of the data analysis process. As a quick refresher, this involves understanding the difference between effective and ineffective questions. Knowing what types of questions bring about the best insights enables you to use questioning to fully understand stakeholder expectations, especially when what they're asking for is different from what your professional experience indicates they require. If you're comfortable with the ask phase, continue to the next part of this lesson. Or if you'd like to review these principles, feel free to do so now. Okay, after asking the right questions in order to thoroughly understand the project, it's time to define project deliverables. A deliverable is any product, service, or outcome that must be achieved in order to complete a project. This could be a new BI dashboard, a report, a completed analysis, documentation of a process or decision. Pretty much anything requested by stakeholders can be a deliverable. In BI, the most common deliverables are the dashboards and reports that provide insights to users. When brainstorming which deliverables to produce, it's helpful to make a list of the problems to solve, challenges to overcome, or opportunities to maximize. Then think about the workflow for each business process involved. This helps you visualize the types of dashboards or reports that will be most productive, how many are necessary, and what specific elements each of them requires. For example, when I'm asked to create a dashboard, I'll grab a piece of paper and start drawing example charts in a mockup. Then I share them with the users. This helps in two ways. First, it ensures my vision of the dashboard is what they had in mind. And second, it enables me to confirm for myself that it all makes sense. Okay, now the final step, effectively sharing business intelligence. It's important to know how to make complicated technical data more straightforward and accessible for people who are unfamiliar with the terminology and systems involved. Being able to present intelligence in a clear and concise manner is fundamental to making sure that decision makers understand the insights and can put your recommendations into practice. Also, at this point in the process, an essential responsibility of every BI professional is to consider bias. As you likely know, bias is a conscious or subconscious preference in favor or against a person, group of people, or thing. There are many different types of bias that can affect a data-related project, such as confirmation bias, data bias, interpretation bias, and observer bias. These concepts were taught in depth in the Google Data Analytics certificate, so please review them now if you need to. Every project you work on must start with a focus on fairness, which means that your work doesn't create or reinforce bias. BI professionals have a lot of power because we're the ones translating very technical topics into a simple language for others. It's vital that your translation is fair. After all, your team is trusting you. You'll continue building your communication skills all throughout this program. And in no time, you'll be ready to thoughtfully share even the most complex BI insights. Have you ever been shopping online and added something to your cart, but then ultimately decided not to purchase it? I know I have. I absolutely love cooking, and I like to shop online for cookbooks, interesting spices, or maybe even a new kitchen gadget. But sometimes I change my mind before checking out because I choose to save the money instead. Or I decide that the kitchen tools I already have will work just fine for my recipe. When that happens, the online store has what's called an abandoned cart. And according to e-commerce platform Shopify, online merchants lose $18 billion a year in sales revenue because of cart abandonment. This is a big problem, but it's one that business intelligence professionals are very skilled at solving. In this video, we'll consider exactly how that works. BI professionals can use data to identify where a customer came from, whether a Google search, an email link, or maybe a social media post. Then they can visualize the journey the shopper took when visiting the website. They're even able to pinpoint exactly where that customer dropped off and try to figure out why. For example, a BI professional might create a tool to monitor how quickly the website checkout page is loading. If the team decides that it's taking too long, the company can dedicate resources to improve website speed and hopefully keep that customer in the future. The measure of a website page loading speed is an example of a metric. A metric is a single quantifiable data point that is used to evaluate performance. In BI, some of the most important metrics are KPIs, which you've learned are quantifiable values closely linked to business strategy. that tracks progress towards a goal. Many people confuse KPIs and metrics, but they are different things. The basic point to keep in mind is that metrics support KPIs, and in turn, KPIs support overall business objectives. It's also helpful to understand that KPIs are strategic, whereas metrics are tactical. Going back to our abandoned cart example, strong KPIs might be the average value of each online transaction, customer retention, or year-over-year sales. Think of it this way. A strategy is a plan for achieving a goal or arriving at a desired future state. It involves making and carrying out plans to reach what you're trying to accomplish. A tactic is how you get there. It's a method used to enable an accomplishment, including actions, events, and activities. Tactics take place along the way as part of your strategy to reach your final objective, like stepping stones between each milestone. Reach enough milestones and you'll reach your goal. Understanding business objectives and what is needed in order to achieve them is the first step in BI monitoring. BI monitoring involves building and using hardware and software tools to easily and rapidly analyze data and enable stakeholders to make impactful business decisions. So, let's say our e-commerce merchant sets a goal to decrease cart abandonment by 15% in 6 months. The BI professional would create a tool that monitors web page loading speeds in order to help achieve that KPI. Rapid monitoring means that the people using BI tools are receiving live or close to live data. In this way, key decision makers know right away if there's a steep rise in the number of abandoned carts, or if they run out of inventory on a popular product, or if customer service representatives are receiving an unusually high volume of calls. Knowing right away means that the company can fix whatever the problem may be as quickly as possible. And this is one of the main ways in which BI professionals add real value to their organizations. Later in this course, you'll learn more about how to select appropriate metrics. Lots more to come.
Hello, I'm Anita, a business intelligence analyst at Google. I can't wait to help guide you through the career lessons throughout this program. I really hope this experience is giving you all kinds of new possibilities to think about. I'm sure that with my awesome colleague Sally, you've already learned so much already. You've begun exploring the day-to-day responsibilities of BI professionals, the roles of different team members and stakeholders, key tools in the BI toolbox such as pipelines and dashboards, and lots more. You're gaining a vast range of knowledge and skills, which are going to be extremely valuable as you prepare to join us in the amazing field of BI. At this point in the program, I encourage you to take some time to reflect on how your experiences so far are setting you up for a great career. And one way to do that is by enhancing your current online presence. If you completed the Google Data Analytics certificate, it covered numerous job-related materials, including how to create an effective resume and LinkedIn profile. This video is about improving your existing career assets. So if you'd like to revisit those lessons to be sure you're prepared for what's to come, go ahead and do so now. Okay, let's get into the value of having a compelling and professional LinkedIn presence. A professional online presence enables you to better connect with others in the field. You can share ideas, ask questions, or provide links to a useful website or an interesting article in the news. These are great ways to meet other people who are passionate about BI. Even if you're already a part of the BI community, strengthening your network makes it even more dynamic. LinkedIn is an amazing way to follow industry trends, learn from thought leaders, and stay engaged with the global BI community. Similarly, membership in LinkedIn listed groups keeps you informed, helps you better understand industry trends, and much more. And of course, LinkedIn has job boards and recruiters who are actively looking for BI professionals for all sorts of organizations and industries. On my team, we begin our candidate searches for all BI roles through LinkedIn, focusing on key skills and experience required for the role. Many of the keywords that we use are exactly the concepts that you're learning in this program. It's a good idea to always keep your profile up to date and be sure to include a professional photo. Beyond that, consider including a link to some of the relevant work you've done in BI, such as the end-of-course project you'll explore during this program. As you continue expanding your online presence to represent the work you're doing in BI, the connections you make will be an important part of having a truly fulfilling experience. Plus, there are also so many rewarding in-person networking opportunities which we'll soon explore. See you then! Recently, you learned about the value of maintaining a professional online presence and connecting with others in the business intelligence field. As I noted, there are many professional networking sites, such as LinkedIn, that are well worth your time and involvement. But there are lots of other ways to be proactive about your professional development. For example, many organizations use personal referrals when hiring. In fact, according to the Society for Human Resource Management, employee referrals are the top source of external hires. So let's start exploring how to tap into this opportunity by building valuable relationships. After all, the more people you connect with professionally, the greater your chances are of being referred. First, there are many more websites that are wonderful ways to get to know other people in business intelligence. Be sure to follow best-in-class organizations and visionary business leaders on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Interact with them and share their content. If there's a post you like, consider commenting with a response or a thank you. You can also search for BI webinars featuring interesting speakers, and many of these events are free. It can be another fascinating way to learn while connecting with peers, colleagues, and experts. And there are also lots of blogs and online communities that focus on BI. Some of the popular ones include Information Week's website, Forrester's Business Intelligence blog, and Tableau's blog. Next, we have in-person networking opportunities. The easiest way to find events is by simply searching for business intelligence events in your area. You'll likely find meetups with posted schedules of upcoming get-togethers, seminars, and conferences. Nonprofit associations are also wonderful resources, and many offer free or reduced-rate memberships for students. Okay, now let's spend some time discovering how mentorship can positively influence your career and life. As you may know, a mentor is someone who shares knowledge, skills, and experience to help you grow both professionally and personally. Mentors are trusted advisors, sounding boards, and valuable resources. The first step in finding a mentor is to figure out what you're looking for. Think about any challenges you face or foresee and how to address them in order to advance professionally. Then consider who can help you grow in these areas, as well as fortify your existing strengths. Share these things openly when you formally ask someone to be your mentor. It's also helpful to note any common experiences. Perhaps you grew up in the same city. Maybe you both worked in the same industry. Your mentor doesn't have to be someone you currently work with. Many people find mentors on LinkedIn, an association mentorship program, or at a mentor matching event. As for me, I found a mentor who was a business partner of mine. I loved her leadership style, how she interacted with her stakeholders, and managed her team. After working with her for quite some time, I told her I really admired her and asked if she'd be my mentor. I knew she could help me develop my skills as a people manager, and she was happy to. This experience really taught me the value of mentorship. I also learned that successful mentorship requires effort and investment in time, whether you're preparing to ask the right questions, internalizing the feedback, or scheduling follow-up sessions. But it's well worth it. Always be open to connecting with new people. You never know where a single conversation will lead.
My name is Gerard, and I'm a principal lead in the analytics and decision support team in YouTube, and our team focuses on building out business intelligence and analytics for the YouTube business organization. Mentorship's been a huge part of my progression in my career. I've had the fortune of many mentors over the course of my career, both at Google and outside of Google, some from schooling, some just by happenstance, but every single one of them have given me something that was either a motivating factor or encouraged me to believe more in myself, or that just were there to listen to me vent about something not working or whatever it might be. Look for groups that are focused on the areas that you're interested in. If we're thinking about BI and analytics, there's so many groups of folks who are business intelligence professionals, and there's niche groups that are focused on data science or predictive analytics. I've also just reached out to people, whether it is via email or introductions from other folks that I know, LinkedIn, And I usually tend to look for people that are doing something that I'm interested in, that have a skill that I don't have. And I just reach out and say, hey, I'd love to have a conversation about XYZ thing and hear how you think about it. I've actually found that LinkedIn is a really powerful tool. It takes work, but it's a very simple entry point for networking. And when I say networking, I don't mean just like small talk. I mean actually reaching out to someone in the hopes that they are someone that actually wants to be reached out to. And really being intentional about what it is you want to learn from people who have done something you want to do. Bet on yourself, because most likely there are not as many people who are doing the same, but the more you show and prove your capabilities, your stick-to-itiveness, whatever other adjective you can use, the more people will start to bet on you and the more opportunities that come from that.
Well, we've come to the end of another section. You learned about enhancing your online presence and maximizing networking and mentorship opportunities. You also investigated the various BI stakeholders and some proven methods for collaborating with them effectively. You discovered how rapid monitoring enables users to collect and report on key metrics, then apply them so organizations can make better decisions. In addition, you learned about how metrics support KPIs, which in turn support business objectives. And we emphasize the power that comes with a BI career and why it's so important to keep fairness in mind at all times. Your business intelligence knowledge and skills continue to develop and grow. I'm really happy to be with you on this exciting journey. Coming up, you have another graded assessment ahead. To prepare, be sure to check out the reading that lists all of the new glossary terms you've learned. And as always, take any time you need to review videos, readings, and your own notes to refresh yourself on all the content. Congrats on all of your progress. We'll connect again shortly.
As a data analyst, you'll be required to focus on a lot of different things, and your stakeholders' expectations are one of the most important. We're going to talk about why stakeholder expectations are so important to your work and look at some examples of stakeholder needs on a project. By now you've heard me use the term stakeholder a lot, so let's refresh ourselves on what a stakeholder is. Stakeholders are people that have invested time, interest, and resources into the projects that you'll be working on as a data analyst. In other words, they hold stakes in what you're doing. There's a good chance they'll need the work you do to perform their own needs. That's why it's so important to make sure your work lines up with their needs, and why you need to communicate effectively with all of the stakeholders across your team. Your stakeholders will want to discuss things like the project objective, what you need to reach that goal, and any challenges or concerns you have. This is a good thing. These conversations help build trust and confidence in your work. Here's an example of a project with multiple team members. Let's explore what they might need from you at different levels to reach the project's goal. Imagine you're a data analyst working with a company's human resources department. The company has experienced an increase in its turnover rate, which is the rate at which employees leave a company. The company's HR department wants to know why that is, and they want you to help them figure out potential solutions. The vice president of HR at this company is interested in identifying any shared patterns across employees who quit and seeing if there's a connection to employee productivity and engagement. As a data analyst, it's your job to focus on the HR department's question and to help find them an answer. But the BP might be too busy to manage day-to-day tasks or might not be your direct contact. For this task, you'll be updating the project manager more regularly. Project managers are in charge of planning and executing a project. Part of the project manager's job is keeping the project on track and overseeing the progress of the entire team. In most cases, you'll need to give them regular updates. Let them know what you need to succeed and tell them if you have any problems along the way. You might also be working with other team members. For example, HR administrators will need to know the metrics you're using so that they can design ways to effectively gather employee data. You might even be working with other data analysts who are covering different aspects of the data. It's so important that you know who the stakeholders and other team members are in a project so that you can communicate with them effectively and give them what they need to move forward in their own roles on the project. You're all working together to give the company vital insights into this problem. So back to our example. By analyzing company data, you see a decrease in employee engagement and performance after their first 13 months at the company, which could mean that employees started feeling demotivated or disconnected from their work, and then often quit a few months later. Another analyst who focuses on hiring data also shares that the company had a large increase in hiring around 18 months ago. You communicate this information with all your team members and stakeholders, and they provide feedback on how to share this information with your VP. In the end, your VP decides to implement an in-depth manager check-in with employees who are about to hit their 12-month mark at the firm to identify career growth opportunities, which reduces the employee turnover starting at the 13-month mark. This is just one example of how you might balance needs and expectations across your team. You'll find that in pretty much every project you work on as a data analyst, different people on your team, from the VP of HR to your fellow data analysts, will need all your focus and communication to carry the project to success. Focusing on stakeholder expectations will help you understand the goal of a project, communicate more effectively across your team, and build trust in your work. Coming up, we'll discuss how to figure out where you fit on your team and how you can help move a project forward with focus and determination. Now that we've talked about 6 basic problem types, it's time to start solving them. To do that, data analysts start by asking the right questions. In this video, we're going to learn how to ask effective questions that lead to key insights you can use to solve all kinds of problems. As a data analyst, I ask questions constantly. It's a huge part of the job. If someone requests that I work on a project, I ask questions to make sure we're on the same page about the plan and the goals. And when I do get a result, I question it. Is the data showing me something superficially? Is there a conflict somewhere that needs to be resolved? The more questions you ask, the more you learn about your data and the more powerful your insights will be at the end of the day. Some questions are more effective than others. Let's say you're having lunch with a friend and they say, "These are the best sandwiches ever, aren't they?" Well, that question doesn't really give you the opportunity to share your own opinion, especially if you happen to disagree and didn't enjoy the sandwich very much. This is called a leading question because it's leading you to answer in a certain way. Or maybe you're working on a project and you decide to interview a family member. Say you ask your uncle, "Did you enjoy growing up in Malaysia?" He may reply, "Yes," but you haven't learned much about his experiences there. Your question was closed-ended. That means it can be answered with a yes or no. These kinds of questions rarely lead to valuable insights. Now, what if someone asks you, "Do you prefer chocolate or vanilla?" Well, what are they specifically talking about? Ice cream, pudding, coffee flavoring, or something else? What if you like chocolate ice cream but vanilla in your coffee? What if you don't like either flavor? That's the problem with this question. It's too vague and lacks context. Knowing the difference between effective and ineffective questions is essential for your future career as a data analyst. After all, the data analyst process starts with the ask phase. So it's important that we ask the right questions. Effective questions follow the SMART methodology. That means they're specific, measurable, action-oriented, relevant, and time-bound. Let's break that down. Specific questions are simple, significant, and focused on a single topic or a few closely related ideas. This helps us collect information that's relevant to what we're investigating. If a question is too general, try to narrow it down by focusing on just one element. For example, instead of asking a closed-ended question like, "Are kids getting enough physical activities these days?" Ask, what percentage of kids achieve the recommended 60 minutes of physical activity at least 5 days a week? That question is much more specific and can give you more useful information. Now, let's talk about measurable questions. Measurable questions can be quantified and assessed. An example of an unmeasurable question would be, why did our recent video go viral? Instead, you could ask, how many times was our video shared on social channels the first week it was posted? That question is measurable because it lets us count the shares and arrive at a concrete number. Okay, now we've come to action-oriented questions. Action-oriented questions encourage change. You might remember that problem solving is about seeing the current state and figuring out how to transform it into the ideal future state. Well, action-oriented questions help you get there. So, rather than asking, how can we get customers to recycle our product packaging? You could ask, what design features will make our packaging easier to recycle? This brings you answers you can act on. All right, let's move on to relevant questions. Relevant questions matter, are important, and have significance to the problem you're trying to solve. Let's say you're working on a problem related to a threatened species of frog, and you asked, why does it matter that Pine Barrens tree frogs started disappearing? This is an irrelevant question because the answer won't help us find a way to prevent these frogs from going extinct. A more relevant question would be, what environmental factors changed in Durham, North Carolina between 1983 and 2004 that could cause Pine Barrens tree frogs to disappear from the Sandhills region? This question would give us answers we can use to help solve our problem. That's also a great example for our final point, time-bound questions. Time-bound questions specify the time to be studied. The time period we want to study is 1983 to 2004. This limits the range of possibilities and enables the data analyst to focus on relevant data. Okay, now that you have a general understanding of SMART questions, there's something else that's very important to keep in mind when crafting questions: fairness. We've touched on fairness before, but as a quick reminder, fairness means ensuring that your questions don't create or reinforce bias. To talk about this, let's go back to our sandwich example. There, we had an unfair question because it was phrased to lead you toward a certain answer. This made it difficult to answer honestly if you disagreed about the sandwich quality. Another common example of an unfair question is one that makes assumptions. For instance, let's say a satisfaction survey is given to people who visit a science museum. If the survey asks, what do you love most about our exhibits? This assumes that the customer loves the exhibits, which may or may not be true. Fairness also means crafting questions that make sense to everyone. It's important for questions to be clear and have a straightforward wording that anyone can easily understand. Unfair questions also can make your job as a data analyst more difficult. They lead to unreliable feedback and missed opportunities to gain some truly valuable insights. You've learned a lot about how to craft effective questions, like how to use the SMART framework while creating your questions, and how to ensure that your questions are fair and objective. Moving forward, you'll explore different types of data and learn how each is used to guide business decisions. You'll also learn more about visualizations and how metrics or measures can help create success. It's going to be great.
Let's kick things off by traveling back in time. Well, in our minds at least. My real time machine's in the shop. Imagine you're back in middle school and you've entered a project for the science fair. You worked hard for weeks perfecting every element, and they're about to announce the winners. You close your eyes, take a deep breath, and you hear them call your name. For second place. Bummer. You really wanted that first place trophy, but hey, you'll take the ribbon for recognition. The next day, you learn the judge was the winner's uncle. How is that fair? Can he really be expected to choose a winner fairly when his own family member is one of the contestants? He's probably biased. Well, maybe his niece deserved to win, and maybe not. But the point is, it's very easy to make a case for bias in that scenario. Now, this is a super simple example, But the truth is, we run into bias all the time in everyday life. Our brains are biologically designed to streamline thinking and make quick judgments. Bias has evolved to become a preference in favor of or against a person, group of people, or thing. And it can be conscious or subconscious. The good news is, once we know and accept that we have bias, we can start to recognize our own patterns of thinking and learn how to manage it. It's important to know that bias can also find its way into the world of data. Data bias is a type of error that systematically skews results in a certain direction. Maybe the questions on a survey had a particular slant to influence answers, or maybe the sample group wasn't truly representative of the population being studied. For example, if you're going to take the median age of the US patient population with health insurance, you wouldn't just use a sample of Medicare patients who are 65 and older. Bias can also happen if a sample group lacks inclusivity. For example, people with disabilities tend to be underidentified, underrepresented, or excluded in mainstream health research. The way you collect data can also bias a dataset. For example, if you give people only a short time to answer questions, their responses will be rushed. When we're rushed, we make more mistakes, which can affect the quality of our data and create biased outcomes. As a data analyst, you have to think about bias and fairness from the moment you start collecting data to the time you present your conclusions. After all, those conclusions can have serious implications. Think about this. It's been acknowledged that clinical studies of heart health tend to include a lot more men than women. This has led to women failing to recognize symptoms and ultimately having their heart conditions go undetected and untreated. That's just one way bias can have a very real impact. While we've come a long way in recognizing bias, it's still led to you losing out to the judge's niece at that science competition. And it's still influencing business decisions, healthcare choices and access, governmental action, and more. So we've still got work to do. Coming up, we'll show you how to identify bias in the data itself and explore some scenarios when you may actually benefit from it.
Great, you're back. When you take a picture, you usually try to capture lots of different things in one image. Maybe you're taking a picture of the sunset and want to capture the clouds, the tree line, and the mountains. Basically, you want a snapshot of that entire moment. You can think of building your resume in the same way. You want your resume to be a snapshot of all that you've done both in school and professionally. In this video, we'll go through the process of building a resume, which you'll be able to add your own details to. Keep in mind this is a snapshot. So when managers and recruiters look at what you've included in your resume, they should be able to tell right away what you can offer their company. The key here is to be brief. Try to keep everything in one page and each description to just a few bullet points. 2 to 4 bullet points is enough, but remember to keep your bullet points concise. Sticking to one page will help you stay focused on the details that best reflect who you are or who you want to be professionally. One page might also be all that hiring managers and recruiters have time to look at. They're busy people, so you want to get their attention with your resume as quickly as possible. Now let's talk about actually building your resume. This is where templates come in. They're a great way to build a brand new resume or reformat one you already have. Programs like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, and even some job search websites, all have templates you can use. A template has placeholders for the information you'll need to enter and its own design elements to make your resume look inviting. You'll have a chance to explore this option a little later. For now, we'll go through the steps you can take to make your resume professional, easy to read, and error-free. If you already have a resume document, you can use these steps to tweak it. Now, there's more than one way to build a resume, but most have contact information at the top of the document. This includes your name, address, phone number, and email address. If you have multiple email addresses or phone numbers, use the ones that are most reliable and sound professional. It's also great if you can use your first and last name in your email address, like janedoe17@email.com. You should also make sure that your contact information matches the details that you've included on professional websites. And while most resumes have contact information in the same place, it's up to you on how you organize that info. A format that focuses more on skills and qualifications and less on work history is great for people who have gaps in their work history. It's also good for those who are just starting out their career or making a career change. And that might be you. If you do want to highlight your work history, feel free to include details of your work experience, starting with your most recent job. If you have lots of jobs that are related to a new position you're applying for, this format makes sense. If you're editing a resume you already have, you can keep it in the same format and adjust the details. If you're starting a new one or building a resume for the first time, choose the format that makes the most sense for you. There's lots of resume resources online. You should browse through a bunch of different resumes to get an idea of the formats you think works best for you. Once you've decided on your format, you can start adding your details. Some resumes begin with the summary, but this is optional. A summary can be helpful if you have experience that is not traditional for a data analyst, or if you're making a career transition. If you decide to include a summary, keep it to 1 or 2 sentences that highlight your strengths and how you can help the company you're applying to. You'll also want to make sure your summary includes positive words about yourself, like dedicated and proactive. You can support those words with data like the number of years you've worked or the tools you're experienced in, like SQL and spreadsheets. A summary might start off with something like hardworking customer service representative with over 5 years of experience. And once you've completed this program and have your certificate, you'll be able to include that too, which could sound like this: entry-level data analytics professional, recently completed the Google Data Analytics Professional Certificate. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Another option is leaving a placeholder for your summary while you build the rest of your resume, and then writing it after you finish the other sections. This way, you can review the skills and experience you've mentioned and grab 2 or 3 of the highlights to use in your summary. It's also good to note that the summary might change a little as you apply for different jobs. If you're including a work experience section, there's lots of different types of experience you could add. Outside of jobs with other companies, you could also include volunteer positions you've had and any freelance or side work you've done. The key here is the way in which you describe these experiences. Try to describe the work you did in a way that relates to the position you're applying for. Most job descriptions have minimum qualifications or requirements listed. These are the experiences, skills, and education you'll need to be considered for the job. So it's important to clearly state them in your resume. If you're a good match, the next step is checking out preferred qualifications, which lots of job descriptions also include. These aren't required, but every additional qualification you match makes you a more competitive candidate for the role. Including any part of your skills and experience that matches a job description will help your resume rise above the competition. So if a job listing describes a job responsibility as effectively managing data resources, you'll want to have your own description that reflects that responsibility. For example, if you volunteered or worked at a local school or community center, you might say that you effectively manage resources for after-school activities. Later on, you'll learn more ways to make your work history work for you. It's helpful to describe your skills and qualifications in the same way. For example, if a listing talks about organization and partnering with others, try to think about relevant experiences you've had. Maybe you've helped organize the food drive or partnered with someone to start an online business. In your descriptions, you want to highlight the impact you've had in your role, as well as the impact the role had on you. If you helped a business get started or reach new heights, talk about that experience and how you played a part in it. Or if you worked at a store when it first opened, you can say that you helped launch the successful business by ensuring quality customer service. If you use data analytics in any of your jobs, you'll definitely want to include that as well. We'll cover how to add specific data analysis skills a little bit later. One way to do this is to follow a formula in your descriptions. Accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. Here's an example of how this might read on a resume. Selected as one of 275 participants nationwide for this 12-month professional development program for high-achieving talent based on leadership potential and academic success. And if you've gained new skills in one of your experiences, be sure to highlight them all and how they helped. This is probably as good a spot as any to bring up data analytics. Even if this program is the first time you really thought about data analytics, now that you're equipped with some knowledge, you'll want to use that to your benefit. So if you've ever managed money, maybe that means you helped a business analyze future earnings, or maybe you created a budget based on your analysis of previous spending. Even if it was for your own or a friend's small business, it's still data that you've analyzed. Now you can reflect on when and how and use it in your resume. After you've added work experience and skills, you should include a section for any education you've completed. And yes, this course absolutely counts. You can add this course as part of your education, and you can also refer to it in your summary and skills sections. Depending on the format of your resume, you might want to add a section for technical skills you've acquired, both in this course and elsewhere. Besides technical skills like SQL, you could also include language proficiencies in this section. Having some ability in a language other than English can only help your job search. So now you have an idea of how to make your resume look professional and appealing. As you move forward, you'll learn even more about how to make your resume shine. By the end, you'll have a resume you can be proud of. Next up, we'll talk about how to make your resume truly unique. See you soon! Hello! You're about to embark on another section of the Google Business Intelligence Certificate. This is wonderful! You're really seizing the day. Seize the day, or carpe diem, is a famous Latin phrase by the Roman poet Horace. He used it to express the idea that we should enjoy life while we can, maybe even taking some risks in order to live life to the fullest. More recently, the acronym YOLO, or You Only Live Once, is a common way of expressing the same idea. Interestingly, the original phrase, you only live once, was intended to send a completely different message. The earliest instances of such quotes in English literature were actually more of a warning. Their connotation was that life is precious, so we should use good judgment, be careful, and protect ourselves from risk of harm. This is a great example of a well-known concept being taken out of context. But lots of other things can get taken out of context too, including data. As a refresher, context is the condition in which something exists or happens. If you earned your Google Data Analytics certificate, you learned a lot about context and how it helps turn raw data into meaningful information. If you'd like to review those lessons, please go ahead and do so before moving on to the next video. It's very important for BI professionals to contextualize our data. This gives it an important perspective and reduces the chances of it being biased or unfair. During the next few lessons, we will re-examine context from a BI context. Then we'll move on to some other data limitations, including constant change and being able to see the big picture in a timely manner. I'll also share some strategies BI professionals use to anticipate and overcome these limitations. And we'll learn more about metrics and how they relate to context. There's much to come, so let's seize the day and continue our business intelligence adventure. Let's try a little experiment. Think about what might happen if you showed this line chart to 3 different people. You'd very likely get 3 different interpretations. Even if they understood that line charts are used to show change over time, one person might assume the x-axis represents a few days, while another might guess it's showing a span of many years. Maybe one person would assume the 5 colored lines along the y-axis represent the sales of different products. Another may suppose they represent the purchase patterns of different customer types. The point is, a line chart with the title, a legend for the x-axis, and the y-axis, and each of the data values it contains, is a much more effective data visualization. When you clearly indicate the meaning of each item by giving them context, suddenly this line chart can be easily understood by others. Context helps eliminate the risk of misinterpretation. This saves your stakeholders time and ensures they have accurate information to make data-driven business decisions. As you likely know, in data analytics, context turns raw data into meaningful information. When you contextualize, you put something into perspective. This involves considering its origin and other relevant background information, the motivation behind it, the larger setting in which it exists, such as a particular time period, and what it might have an impact on. Contextualization gives something greater meaning to help people understand it more completely. This also supports fairness and reduces the chance of bias when your users seek to gain useful insights from the data you're presenting, which brings me to context in a BI setting. In BI, there's another aspect of context that professionals care about a lot, and that's contextualizing the tools we create for our users. One key practice that promotes context is to put the data being shared in a central location. Typically, this would be a well-designed dashboard. Then, the second step is ensuring there's a common method for everyone to interact with that dashboard. It's important for stakeholders to be able to easily understand, access, and use the dashboards you create. This way, people don't have to go elsewhere or switch context in order to find the information they need. And that empowers all users to be much more effective in their work. For example, let's say a company's finance team needs a dashboard to analyze costs across the entire company. So you design a dashboard that shares key insights about each department's particular spending. But then, what if it turns out that the operation department's costs are revealed to be unusually high? The finance team would want to be able to take a deep dive into that department's spending in order to figure out the root causes of the cost increase. So it would be important to iterate on your dashboard so it includes supporting information about each department as well. Another part of building an effective solution is prioritizing the cross-functional relationships that exist within your organization. It's necessary to consider how the BI work you're doing aligns with overall business objectives and how it will be used by your colleagues. For instance, if your new BI tool will monitor 5 different metrics and be used by 10 different stakeholders, it's important to consider how each user will access and interpret the data. Basically, to make an effective dashboard, it's necessary to first understand how each particular stakeholder will actually use it. And by taking the time to think this through, you ensure that you create one robust dashboard, rather than many less effective ones. Also, because you've created a single accessible shared dashboard, this allows for some great collaboration among users. For instance, that finance team member may be dismayed by a seemingly small 5% year-over-year growth number. But the salesperson can put that number into context by pointing out that 5% is actually a good result and higher than expected, given that the market segment as a whole was experiencing a 10% decline. The salesperson can provide that specific market's context, whereas the financial analyst would likely only be aware of broad industry trends. A single dashboard output can bring about countless insightful conversations. Expressing results contextually helps you confirm that you're using the right data for the stakeholders. You'll also know that it's in the correct format. It can be effectively used and shared, and the results make sense. This boosts people understanding and, as a result, the ultimate business benefits. In a previous lesson, you were introduced to some of the solutions in the Business Intelligence Professionals Toolbox. They include data models, pipelines such as ETL, data visualizations, and dashboards. These are all powerful and exciting solutions, but only if they have relevant, timely, consistent, and bias-free data to work with. This concept is known as data availability. Data availability describes the degree or extent to which timely and relevant information is readily accessible and able to be put to use. Unfortunately, there are various factors that can affect data availability, and therefore can compromise the integrity of BI solutions. In this video, we're going to discuss some of those challenges, as well as ways to address them. First, some of the most common data availability issues involve integrity. If you earned your Google Data Analytics certificate, you know that data integrity involves the accuracy, completeness, consistency, and trustworthiness of data throughout its entire lifecycle. Typical issues related to data integrity include duplicates, missing information, inconsistent structure, or not conforming to business rules. If you'd like to revisit the lesson about data integrity, feel free to do that now. Then come back to this video when you're ready. The second data availability challenge has to do with visibility. Data visibility is the degree or extent to which information can be identified, monitored, and integrated from disparate internal and external sources. For instance, employees working in a company's operations department might have no idea what data is stored in the communications department. Or someone working in the logistics unit might have data files that contain lots of great information, but no one else even knows they exist. Now, on the other hand, when you do have clear data visibility, it's possible to achieve accurate and timely insights and really improve your organization's responsiveness and agility. To achieve these goals, BI professionals will often work with their colleagues to create a list of data repositories for stakeholders. You can request a short interview with the data owners or ask people to complete a quick online survey about the data they collect and use. This is a simple but very useful exercise to discover the kind of data that is available. Also, keep in mind, data visibility challenges don't just exist within a company's four walls. Sometimes BI professionals are unaware of very useful external data. As you may know, there are countless free public data sets, including government research, climate, energy, and healthcare studies, industry surveys, and lots more. All of these can contribute to a successful BI project. The third data availability factor to be aware of is update frequency. Oftentimes, BI projects will involve multiple data sources. It's very common for disparate sources to refresh at different times, such as weekly versus monthly. Let's say a business intelligence professional works for a pet supply manufacturer based in Brazil, and maybe they analyze product sales volume by city. If a retail partner moves from Rio de Janeiro to Sao Paulo in the middle of July, all of that month's sales would fall under Rio, simply because the partner's address hasn't been updated yet in the BI system. So either the retailer's data needs to refresh sooner to match sales data, or the manufacturer should look at all data on a monthly basis. This is why it's important for the BI professional to understand how the update frequency of different data sources can affect insights. Even if individual data sources are perfect, the integration aspect is often pretty messy. Now we've come to a fourth data availability challenge, change. Change is a constant in pretty much every aspect of our lives, and data is no different. Data availability may be affected because of a change to internal procedures, such as a system update or a new record-keeping process. It may change externally because of a user interface upgrade or an adjustment to a particular algorithm. To address this issue, BI professionals must have a plan for how they will keep stakeholders up to date on changes that might affect the project. So they should encourage team members to think about what tools or methods they're using now, what could change, and how it may influence the data being tracked, and how to fill any potential gaps. Data availability is an important consideration in the field of BI, and you're likely to spend a fair amount of time working to address data availability factors. This video provided an introduction to some of the most common issues you'll encounter, but there are other things that can affect the availability of data. Therefore, it's important to be realistic about the level of quality you're aiming for. For many projects, good enough is sufficient. Just be sure to acknowledge the limitations and constraints if you take that approach. As with so many things, it's difficult, if not impossible, to achieve perfection. And that's okay.
My name is Meghna, and I'm a business intelligence analyst. There are several types of biases that an analyst can deal with in regular life: confirmation bias, selection bias, historical bias, and outlier bias. Confirmation bias occurs when an analyst is either exploring or trying to interpret data to confirm with their prior beliefs. This can happen at any stage of data analysis, while gathering data for analysis, while actually doing exploratory analysis, or while interpreting the data. Selection bias can occur when we are dealing with samples which are not representative of the entire population. This can happen organically when we are dealing with small data sets or when the randomization process has not happened. Historical data bias happens when socio-cultural prejudices and beliefs are mirrored into systematic processes. For example, if manual systems give poor credit ratings to a specific group of people, and an analyst uses this data to feed into automated systems. This automatic system is now going to either amplify or actually mirror these prejudices into the results. Finally, talking about outlier bias. Averages are a great way to hide anomalies and outliers while skewing our observation. Data integrity practices are very important to avoid bias in data. There are a few tips or things that have worked for me while I've done my analysis and tried to avoid bias. First one is record all my prior beliefs and assumptions before I start my analysis to actually be cognizant of the fact that I do have these preconceived notions about the data or the process. Second is to use a highly randomized set of data to actually use data which might be more representative of the analysis than being just convenient. Third one is to gather more data and do more research about the opposite side of your hypothesis so that you are not really ignoring that part, or you're not really focusing on the thing that you believe should be the outcome of your analysis. And the last one, a very important one, is to be cognizant of outliers. When the average analysis says things are looking good in the data, I think it is time to dig more into the data to understand nuances.
Vanity is an interesting word. If you look up vanity in the dictionary, you'll discover that it can mean both excessive pride and something that is empty, futile, or without value. It's intriguing to think that we can be proud of something that matters very little. But this does happen sometimes, especially when it comes to business metrics. In fact, those of us in business intelligence have a term for this phenomenon: vanity metrics. Vanity metrics are data points that are intended to impress others, but are not indicative of actual performance and therefore cannot reveal any meaningful business insights. A well-known vanity metric is the number of people following a company on social media. Maybe there are hundreds of thousands of followers, but how many of them are actually making a purchase? How many of them refer other customers to the site? And how much revenue do they actually generate for the business? Showing off a number just because it's big rarely accomplishes much. And that's why it's critical to ensure each metric you monitor is productive, informative, and effective. For example, some useful business metrics might include a restaurant's customer loyalty rate, a manufacturing team's productivity levels, a fitness center's monthly profits and losses, or the amount of inventory in a pharmacy's warehouse. These are numbers that can lead to useful business insights. When determining which metrics to include on a dashboard, BI professionals consider 4 key things. First, more information is not necessarily better. Your stakeholders will appreciate it if you limit the number of metrics on your dashboards by including only those that are critical to project success. Do this by thinking about user requirements, what users already know, and what they need to learn to help them meet those requirements. Too many metrics, especially irrelevant or unnecessary metrics, can confuse people and devalue your dashboard. Next, make sure metrics are aligned with business objectives. Consider your organization's specific goals. Then pinpoint which metrics can be used to support them and measure success. Confirm that the necessary technologies and processes are in place to obtain and analyze the data you need for each metric. This is another time to think about all the factors related to data availability. Avoid vague or super high-level metrics. Instead, they should be clear and precise enough to inform a particular action. The SMART methodology can help you identify the key metrics for the particular issue at hand. As you may know, this tool helps determine a question's effectiveness. However, it can also help you refine metrics based on whether they are specific, measurable, action-oriented, relevant, and time-bound. If you earn the Google Data Analytics certificate, you learn about the SMART methodology. Feel free to review that lesson before moving ahead. As a final point, it's wise to identify the most important metric first and prominently display it at the top of your dashboard. Then, supporting metrics can drill down into the details below. For instance, when making a dashboard for a tomato farm, you might put the number of tomato pallets shipped at the top because total sales is a key metric. Then, the data that supports pallet shipments, such as worker productivity and the efficiency of the harvesting machines, would be displayed underneath. In addition, your users will appreciate it if you group related metrics together. So for our tomato farmer, that would mean placing sales data in one section, production insights in another, harvest rates in another, and so on. Keep in mind that the best metrics highlight two key things: how the organization is doing and what decision makers should focus on. In other words, they ensure your dashboards are never created in vain. And just like that, we've reached the end of another section of this course. You are discovering so much about business intelligence. I'm really excited for you, for how far you've come, and for everything that lies ahead. I hope you're equally inspired and motivated to keep making great progress. At this point, you've gained valuable knowledge about some of the most essential elements of BI. You learned about context and how it can help people avoid mistakes, save time and effort, and confirm that data is accurate and fair. Context is also important when creating BI tools, as it enables users to collaborate and share information that helps make business metrics more clear and comprehensive. You also explore the concept of data availability and why it's so important in maintaining the integrity of BI solutions. And you continue to investigate metrics, as well as the strategies that BI professionals use when deciding which metrics to include on a dashboard. Soon, it will be time to apply your BI skills to a scenario-based project for your portfolio. You will create your own approach to the example situation and consider how you would complete each task at your company. This will be an invaluable tool during your job search. As always, I encourage you to make the most of the discussion forums. Sharing ideas and questions is a wonderful way to tap into the world of BI. But first, you have another graded assessment. Once again, be sure to check out the reading that lists new glossary terms, and take all the time you need to review videos, readings, and your own notes. Awesome work, and I can't wait to be with you again soon. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to discuss data integrity and some risks you might run into as a data analyst. A strong analysis depends on the integrity of the data. If the data you're using is compromised in any way, your analysis won't be as strong as it should be. Data integrity is the accuracy, completeness, consistency, and trustworthiness of data throughout its life cycle. That might sound like a lot of qualities for the data to live up to, but trust me, it's worth it to check for them all before proceeding with your analysis. Otherwise, your analysis could be wrong. Not because you did something wrong, but because the data you were working with was wrong to begin with. When data integrity is low, it can cause anything from the loss of a single pixel in an image to an incorrect medical decision. In some cases, one missing piece can make all of your data useless. Data integrity can be compromised in lots of different ways. There's a chance data can be compromised every time it's replicated, transferred, or manipulated in any way. Data replication is the process of storing data in multiple locations. If you're replicating data at different times, in different places, there's a chance your data will be out of sync. This data lacks integrity because different people might not be using the same data for their findings, which can cause inconsistencies. There's also the issue of data transfer, which is the process of copying data from a storage device to memory, or from one computer to another. If your data transfer is interrupted, you might end up with an incomplete data set, which might not be useful for your needs. The data manipulation process involves changing the data to make it more organized and easier to read. Data manipulation is meant to make the data analysis process more efficient, but an error during the process can compromise that efficiency. Finally, data can also be compromised through human error, viruses, malware, hacking, and system failures, which can all lead to even more headaches. I'll stop there. That's enough potentially bad news to digest. Let's move on to some potentially good news. In a lot of companies, the data warehouse or data engineering team takes care of ensuring data integrity. Coming up, we'll learn about checking data integrity as a data analyst. But rest assured, someone else will usually have your back too. After you found out what kind of data you're working with, It's important to double-check that your data is complete and valid before analysis. This will help ensure that your analysis and eventual conclusions are accurate. Checking data integrity is a vital step in processing your data to get it ready for analysis, whether you or someone else at your company is doing it. Coming up, you'll learn even more about data integrity. See you soon.
Now that we've talked about 6 basic problem types, it's time to start solving them. To do that, data analysts start by asking the right questions. In this video, we're going to learn how to ask effective questions that lead to key insights you can use to solve all kinds of problems. As a data analyst, I ask questions constantly. It's a huge part of the job. If someone requests that I work on a project, I ask questions to make sure we're on the same page about the plan and the goals. And when I do get a result, I question it. Is the data showing me something superficially? Is there a conflict somewhere that needs to be resolved? The more questions you ask, the more you'll learn about your data and the more powerful your insights will be at the end of the day. Some questions are more effective than others. Let's say you're having lunch with a friend and they say, "These are the best sandwiches ever, aren't they?" Well, that question doesn't really give you the opportunity to share your own opinion, especially if you happen to disagree and didn't enjoy the sandwich very much. This is called a leading question because it's leading you to answer in a certain way. Or maybe you're working on a project and you decide to interview a family member. Say you ask your uncle, "Did you enjoy growing up in Malaysia?" He may reply, "Yes." But you haven't learned much about his experiences there. Your question was closed-ended. That means it can be answered with a yes or no. These kinds of questions rarely lead to valuable insights. Now, what if someone asks you, "Do you prefer chocolate or vanilla?" Well, what are they specifically talking about? Ice cream, pudding, coffee flavoring, or something else? What if you like chocolate ice cream but vanilla in your coffee? What if you don't like either flavor? That's the problem with this question. It's too vague and lacks context. Knowing the difference between effective and ineffective questions is essential for your future career as a data analyst. After all, the data analyst process starts with the ask phase. So it's important that we ask the right questions. Effective questions follow the SMART methodology. That means they're specific, measurable, action-oriented, relevant, and time-bound. Let's break that down. Specific questions are simple, significant, and focused on a single topic or a few closely related ideas. This helps us collect information that's relevant to what we're investigating. If a question is too general, try to narrow it down by focusing on just one element. For example, instead of asking a closed-ended question like, "Are kids getting enough physical activities these days?" ask, "What percentage of kids achieve the recommended 60 minutes of physical activity at least 5 days a week?" That question is much more specific and can give you more useful information. Now, let's talk about measurable questions. Measurable questions can be quantified and assessed. An example of an unmeasurable question would be, "Why did our recent video go viral?" Instead, you could ask, "How many times was our video shared on social channels the first week it was posted?" That question is measurable because it lets us count the shares and arrive at a concrete number. Okay, now we've come to action-oriented questions. Action-oriented questions encourage change. You might remember that problem solving is about seeing the current state and figuring out how to transform it into the ideal future state. Well, action-oriented questions help you get there. So, rather than asking, "How can we get customers to recycle our product packaging?" you could ask, "What design features will make our packaging easier to recycle?" This brings you answers you can act on. All right, let's move on to relevant questions. Relevant questions matter, are important, and have significance to the problem you're trying to solve. Let's say you're working on a problem related to a threatened species of frog, and you asked, "Why does it matter that Pine Barrens tree frogs started disappearing?" This is an irrelevant question because the answer won't help us find a way to prevent these frogs from going extinct. A more relevant question would be, what environmental factors changed in Durham, North Carolina between 1983 and 2004 that could cause pine-bearing street frogs to disappear from the Sandhills region? This question would give us answers we can use to help solve our problem. That's also a great example for our final point, time-bound questions. Time-bound questions specify the time to be studied. The time period we want to study is 1983 to 2004. This limits the range of possibilities and enables the data analyst to focus on relevant data. Okay, now that you have a general understanding of SMART questions, there's something else that's very important to keep in mind when crafting questions: fairness. We've touched on fairness before, but as a quick reminder, fairness means ensuring that your questions don't create or reinforce bias. To talk about this, let's go back to our sandwich example. There, we had an unfair question because it was phrased to lead you toward a certain answer. This made it difficult to answer honestly if you disagreed about the sandwich quality. Another common example of an unfair question is one that makes assumptions. For instance, let's say a satisfaction survey is given to people who visit a science museum. If the survey asks, "What do you love most about our exhibits?" this assumes that the customer loves the exhibits, which may or may not be true. Fairness also means crafting questions that make sense to everyone. It's important for questions to be clear and have a straightforward wording that anyone can easily understand. Unfair questions also can make your job as a data analyst more difficult. They lead to unreliable feedback and missed opportunities to gain some truly valuable insights. You've learned a lot about how to craft effective questions, like how to use the SMART framework while creating your questions, and how to ensure that your questions are fair and objective. Moving forward, you'll explore different types of data and learn how each is used to guide business decisions. You'll also learn more about visualizations and how metrics or measures can help create success. It's going to be great.
Hello, I'm Anita, Finance Senior Business Intelligence Analyst here at Google. I'm very happy to be with you as you begin this first video about your future business intelligence career. Watching an instructional video, like this one, or attending a class or reading an article are all great ways to gain new knowledge. However, there's simply nothing like applying that knowledge. When you actually do something, this really helps you confirm that you understand what you've learned. This concept is called experiential learning, which simply means understanding through doing. It involves immersing yourself in a situation where you can practice what you've learned, further develop your skills, and reflect on your education. A few years ago, I trained to become a yoga teacher. It's a bit intimidating at first, learning all the ins and outs of each pose, figuring out how to create an effective sequence of poses, and eventually leading a yoga studio full of people. But I paid attention to what worked and what I could improve upon during each class. Then I reflected on that and revisited many of the lessons from my training as well. And with each class I taught, that learning experience helped me get better and better. Experiential learning, whether for a hobby or for work, is always an awesome opportunity. It gives you a broader view of the world, provides important insight into your particular interests and passions, and helps build self-confidence. So let's start experiencing your end-of-course project. In the context of this Google Business Intelligence Certificate, experiential learning will give you the opportunity to discover how organizations use BI every day. This type of activity can help you identify the specific types of industries and projects that are most interesting to you, and help you discuss them with potential employers. This can really help you stand out during a job search. Soon, you will put experiential learning into practice by working on an end-of-course project. As a refresher, a portfolio is a collection of materials that can be shared with any potential employers. It's also an amazing way to make your application shine. Portfolios can be stored on public websites or your own personal website or blog, and they can be linked within your digital resume or any online professional presence you may have, such as your LinkedIn account. The project you'll be working on is a BI case study, which will enable you to bring together everything you've learned about BI in a compelling and instructive way. If you earned your Google Data Analytics certificate, you spent a lot of time working on a portfolio to showcase your knowledge and skills. This is a great moment to revisit those lessons in order to ensure that you have the necessary foundations to create a BI portfolio that's impactful and impressive. Or, if you didn't complete the program, you may want to check on that content before moving forward with this project. Creating an end-of-course project is a valuable opportunity, as companies often will ask you to complete a case study during the interview process. Employers commonly use this method to assess you as a candidate and gain insight into how you approach common business challenges. This end-of-course project will help you succeed if you encounter this situation when applying for BI jobs. Coming up, you'll be introduced to the specific case study involved in your end-of-course project. You'll also receive clear instructions to follow in order to create many BI deliverables. As you begin working, you'll consider the knowledge and skills you've acquired in this course and how they can be applied to your project. I encourage you to keep some notes about your approach, methods, systems, and accomplishments. This will help you identify important points to share with a hiring manager, such as the many transferable skills you've gained. A transferable skill is a capability or proficiency that can be applied from one job to another. Highlighting your transferable skills is especially important when changing jobs or industries. For instance, if you learned how to solve customer complaints while working as a host at a restaurant, you could highlight the transferable skill of problem solving when applying for a job in the BI field. Or maybe you learned how to meet deadlines, take notes, and follow instructions while working in administration at a nonprofit organization. You could discuss how your organizational skills are transferable to the BI industry. The point is, if you've developed the ability to problem solve or keep things organized in one role, you can apply that knowledge anywhere. There are all kinds of transferable skills that you can add to your notes document. Plus, this process will help you consider how to explain technical concepts clearly while demonstrating how you would apply your BI expertise across all kinds of tools and scenarios. And by the time you're done, you'll not only have some very useful notes, but also a finished case study for your online portfolio. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Let's get going.
I'm Patrick Lau. I'm a business intelligence manager in Google Legal. I manage a team of 5 analysts, and we work on dashboards, reports, queries for all of the Google Legal team. I started out at Google in a non-technical role. I actually started as a legal assistant in the legal department. I got a lot of opportunities in my first role to work with data because data was everywhere. We needed reports to report on data, to visualize data, and that opportunity gave me a lot of chances to develop my skills and start presenting data in dashboards. At Google, I've conducted about 40 interviews, all for BI analyst roles. Usually what I'm looking for are candidates who are really strong with their business judgment, who are able to make a recommendation, to find solutions, and leverage data to do that. As a hiring manager, I see a lot of resumes, and sometimes they start to look alike. What I really get excited about, though, is when a candidate includes a portfolio, and not a lot of applicants include a portfolio. What makes me excited about seeing a portfolio is looking beyond just a one-page resume and seeing what kind of work they can do, the kind of passions they have with data, really just to hear their voice. That's what really helps me get to know a candidate. The portfolios that I really like to see aren't just a suite of dashboards. I actually really like to see a video, maybe on YouTube or recorded on any other video platform, because that lets me see a story from beginning to end. I really enjoy seeing their slides or seeing them walk through a dashboard, clicking on different widgets, showing how there are trends. Telling a story like this really helps me get engaged. I find those kinds of portfolios a lot more interesting than just, hey, here's a bunch of links, go click on it, go look at it yourself. For candidates creating a portfolio for the first time, I really recommend keeping it simple. Assume the hiring manager is only going to spend a few minutes looking through your dashboard or your reports or queries. Think about the message you want them to walk away with. The actions or recommendations you have should really stand out very quickly and very clearly. Don't think too much about impressing a hiring manager. Really what's important for me is seeing the recommendation you make, how you want to influence the business with your data. As a hiring manager, I would say I really want everyone to succeed. I want you to succeed. You belong in the BI industry. We need you. We need more people with unique career paths, with unique experiences. That's how we build a more diverse industry. That's how we can really increase our skills and innovate.
When candidates interview for jobs here at Google, my colleagues in people operations and human resources love checking out their online portfolios. They often feel more confident in candidates who can demonstrate their knowledge in a clear and compelling format. And when they review portfolios by people who want to join teams such as mine in business intelligence, dashboards are particularly helpful because they are visually compelling, but also straightforward and easy to use and understand. So together with the hiring managers, we look for both content and how the dash is organized and designed to understand how much thought has been put into the user experience. Having a portfolio has become extremely common in the business intelligence field. During a job hunt, it is so valuable to showcase your knowledge of BI, your experience with the BI toolbox, and some of the interesting projects that you've worked on. Your portfolio can really help you stand out from other candidates. So far in this course, you've gained lots of knowledge and job-ready skills to help you succeed in BI. You've discovered the role of BI professionals within an organization, as well as typical career paths. You've explored core BI practices and tools, and witnessed how BI professionals use them to make a positive impact. All of these things will help you successfully complete your end-of-course project. In addition, you will apply what you've learned about team members, stakeholders, and clients, such as their particular roles or priorities. Along the way, you'll ensure the metrics you select are relevant and effective. And you'll apply what you now know about defining a strategy and gathering stakeholder and project requirements. You'll begin by reading about the specific case study. This reading will explain the type of organization you're working with, the people involved, the business problem to be solved, and other key details. You will complete a stakeholder requirements document using information provided by your client. This will enable you to further define the business problem, understand the stakeholders, and consider important questions to answer in order to achieve a successful result. Then, you will create a project requirements document with information about the project's purpose, key dependencies, success criteria, and more. Finally, you will thoughtfully plan your approach to the example situation so you're prepared to develop an effective solution. As you learned, the project requirements document includes the project's purpose, its audience, and key dashboard features and requirements, including metrics and charts that the dash should contain. Then, in later courses, you will continue working on your end-of-course project. And by the time you're done, you will have designed something that you can use to really impress hiring managers. Plus, you'll have a BI process document that demonstrates your thought process, your approach to the business problem, and the key skills you've gained, and lots more. These are all great things to talk about during an interview. All right, let's get started. It's time to discover how you will help an organization advance through the exciting world of business intelligence. You've completed the first part of the Business Intelligence End-of-Course project. Congratulations! Planning and documenting your approach to the example situation is a valuable experience as you begin thinking about your future job hunt. Soon, you'll be able to impress hiring managers by discussing your BI experience, including understanding stakeholder requests, establishing a clear and straightforward project plan, and completing an effective strategy document. In addition, you'll understand how to share everything you know about identifying relevant metrics and KPIs. This is a big part of the BI process. Also, as you've learned, it's super helpful to communicate about your transferable skills with potential employers. The information you've added to your BI notes will be extremely useful during job interviews. The following step in your end-of-course project will come at the end of the next course. At that point, you will use the assets you developed here in order to continue creating your solution. Then, at the end of the program, you'll bring everything together in order to finalize your unique approach to this example situation. Keep in mind, your documents won't look exactly like the exemplar, but they should achieve the same goals. You're always welcome to go back and review what you created so you're set up for success as you continue through this program. The goal is to have a great example of your work that clearly demonstrates to potential employers just how skilled you are. Congratulations again, and I hope you have a rewarding experience as you work on the project throughout this program.
Congratulations on finishing this first course of the Google Business Intelligence Certificate. You've already learned so much, and now you're ready to take your knowledge and skills and keep moving forward. But remember, if one day you feel like you need a refresher or just some extra practice, these videos, readings, and activities will still be here whenever you need them. Now, I'm excited for you to begin working with the instructor for the next course. You might remember Ed from the video that introduced this program. He's a product manager here at Google. Ed is ready to help you take your next step towards finishing this program and becoming a business intelligence professional. This course builds directly on all of the exciting topics you've learned thus far. It will give you lots more insights into data models, pipelines, data transformation, and much more. As you progress, you'll continue building your BI expertise. Before you get started though, I'd like to thank you for joining me in this course and choosing to pursue this exciting learning opportunity. I strongly believe that education is a lifelong journey. For me, it has taken the form of learning Python on the job to speed up my analysis, and reading books about well-being to become a healthier and more resilient person. And in the same way, I have no doubt that all of your time and effort here will better equip you for anything you choose to do in the future. You've come a long way, so take a moment to celebrate everything you've accomplished. Then head over to the next course. Ed is ready and waiting to get you started. Goodbye.